So here's a common question that comes up around puffballs, and these are medicinal but also culinary mushrooms. How do you use them? So here's a few tips. And essentially, these medicinally, this is a healing mushroom that is used for aiding sore throats, can be used in decoction or mixed with honey to make little pills with. Very good for healing chronic coughs. Now, if you're going to add it to a decoction, you're going to typically use powdered puffball, and you'll wrap it, like say in a cheesecloth, for example. And that is the most common way. And that's the common way for even making extracts with these mushrooms. And a typical dosing for decoction, for example, is somewhere between 1.5 to 4.5 grams. The young, the clearly identified mushrooms, this is one of those that can kind of get lost in the identification process. So be very, very careful. You do not want to be harvesting. There are other species that look similar and would not be helpful at all to you and make you quite sick. So don't, pay attention. But the young puffballs are considered edible and safe. The older ones are kind of more popular for making medicines with. Inhaling spores from puffball can have side effects, including breathing problems, because they are so big that when when you're working with them, this powdery haze can brush over you and it can really coat the lungs. So you want to pay attention. You may want to wear a mask when you're harvesting, if that's what you're up to, if you're not purchasing this. And they come in brown, gray brown, purple brown kind of coloring as they become an adult. They can get up to be like a size of a football, and some can even weigh up to 10 pounds. These are puffballs. And they're described in terms of eating them, sort of having no taste at all. They're sort of one of those foods that fall in the category of not a lot of taste, but really good for holding sauces. And some consider them to have a mild kind of nutty flavor, earthy flavor, if you will, of course, rich, wonderful. And the biggest concern, as we've just already mentioned, is just making sure you're properly identifying before you pick them, and that you're picking them at the right age. You don't want them too old. They've moved into a different category and they're not going to be edible, or, it's not what you want. You don't want them when they're at the medicinal end of things. You want them when they're in the edible end. So there you go, puffball. Mushrooms well worth knowing about and making better use of, because they really have important medicinal value.